Also, whilst we're on the subject of bashing the Conservatives, this is one I'm going to bash them for, not for being stupid or embarrassing, but this stuff is just plain evil. This story I'm going to tell you is going to blow your mind, chat. I shared it on Twitter, so you might have already seen this, but I was absolutely mind blown when I saw this headline, which was new universal credit sanctions could include losing free NHS prescriptions and dental care. So not only do you have no money, they're also taking away your healthcare from you if you get benefit sanctions, right? So remember the story of David Clapson that I go on about every time the welfare state comes up. This was the guy who missed a job centre meeting and then got his benefits cut for a month, and he died of hypoglycemia because he couldn't afford to put the meter on so that he could keep his insulin in the fridge to keep it cool. And when they found him, he had an empty stomach and £3.50 in his bank account. Under this, he would then lose his ability to be able to get free prescriptions from getting benefit sanctions. We've already got garbage dental care in this country. We already have a gigantic NHS waiting list. But under Jeremy Hunt's quote unquote welfare reforms, he wants to go even further than that. The draconian system we have already, where people lose access to PIP, people lose access to the ability to even claim universal credit in the first place for all sorts of reasons. People continually fall through the cracks. They're then going to go even further and literally take away people's healthcare if they get to the point of potentially being absent for meetings that would then give them benefit sanctions. To add in the removal of healthcare as a welfare sanction it's eugenics. That's what this is, right? This is eugenics. 100% eugenics. But of course, it's the divide and rule. The strivers versus the shirkers. The people who pay for their dentists versus those who get free dental treatment. It's never not, why doesn't everybody get free dental treatment? You can always frame it as, well, these people get free dental treatment and they're taking the piss by having benefit sanctions, so they should just have it taken away from them, and then suddenly all the people who have to pay exorbitant amounts for dental care will feel better, not because they're saving money, but because they get to see other people suffer. It's the worst, most kind of base level of human interaction as far as policy is concerned. Let's read into this. In his speech to the Conservative Party conference, Hunt said the government would look at the way sanctions regimes work. Press reports based on government briefings suggested that measures to be announced in next month's autumn statement, including closing the universal credit claims of those whose benefits have been sanctioned for 6 months, reportedly affecting 90,000 people, almost 100,000 people getting this kind of stuff taken away. It's abominable. It really is, absolutely rancid politics from these people. Few details have been so provided, with the policy yet to be finalised, but Politics Home can reveal what proposals have been under discussion in Whitehall. Benefit sanctions were imposed by DWP on universal credit claimants who are deemed not to have taken necessary steps to look for work. These includes those who miss or in some cases are just late for job centre meetings. The overwhelming majority of sanctions are now imposed for this specific reason. When their benefits are sanctioned, their main payment, the standard allowance, is typically stopped for a week or two and is only restarted when the claimant complies with the requirements of the benefit claim, which in this case usually means attending the job centre meeting that they missed. The government's own research has found sanctions do not increase the likelihood of claimants leaving benefits for any kind of paid work and reduce the rate of claimants leaving benefits for high paid work. Politics Home understands a senior Treasury official told colleagues last week that the policy was just about being able to look tough on sanctions. Again, it's all vice signaling. Nothing of this has any material benefit at all, but it's about the optical position of looking like you are being permissive of people not adhering to a strict regime, rather than wanting to get people into work, wanting to increase the labour force participation rate. It's not an incentive, it's not a disincentive, it's just punishment. It's just cruelty for the sake of cruelty and to vice signal to evil people in population who've had their consent manufactured to despise people way further down the rungs than they are. This is literally the government. They have all of the research that they need to know that this does not increase labour force participation, which is apparently what this is driving. All it does is just screw people over. And in some cases, you look at David Clapson, kill them. It would kill people. This policy will kill people. And it's all optics. There's no material reason to do this whatsoever. Hunt's plan concerns those who do not comply with job centre requirements, those who disengage long-term from the job centre so that their benefits remain sanctioned for 6 months. Under the proposals discussed last week, these claimants would have their universal credit claims closed and they would be barred from reopening them as for an as yet undetermined period of time. A 3-month period has been floated. So they would be sanctioned for that period. So this would be a long-term disengagement, means that they're not getting the universal credit payments at all. But the closing of the claim would mean what we talked about before, the removal of the free prescriptions and the removal of free dental care. They're not even getting paid by the state in terms of the universal credit payments. They just want to be deliberately cruel cruel to people, right? They just want to just murder people using the state for fun at this point, killing thousands of people just to lose by 16% instead of 18%. And because people like Hunt fundamentally believe the poor are leeches who deserve what they get, and they do not want to believe otherwise, who are not interested in the evidence. You know, the milk of human kindness is wasted on these people. The cruelty is always the point, yeah. And again, it doesn't get them into work. Does it? I don't even see whether it would reduce the number of people who got sanctions anyway. It's just nastiness for the sake of nastiness. But DWP has estimated that with these provisos, the new rules will affect 90,000 claimants. Although given that around 120,000 universal credit claimants are carrying a benefit sanction at any one time, the 90,000 figure is almost certainly the number who would be affected over an extended period of time rather than a snapshot figure. The tightened rules will cost money to administer, but it's not clear how much money, if any, they will save, given that those affected will already have gone 6 months without receiving any payments at all. So they are literally spending money to kill people. They're not even saving money from the free prescriptions to the free dental care, because it will cost money to administer, it will cost money to means test, it'll cost money to police. They will probably spend more money than they'll actually save in terms of the prescriptions and the dental care. So they're literally spending money to kill people. This is the level of the Conservative government. They're willing to expend government money to put people to early graves. But it won't impact disabled people. And they've explicitly said that any claimants who receive disability housing or child elements of universal credit. The problem is that this is explicitly dependent on receiving the disability benefit. If you go through the assessment and you don't get access to disability, which you should be getting even though you don't, especially when we now know that Hunt already is looking at making the eligibility for disabled payments more stringent. There are plenty of disabled people who are going to be falling through the cracks on receiving disability payment already, who will then also not be eligible for the free prescriptions and the free dental care. Free prescriptions almost certainly being something that you as a disabled person will definitely need too. But you might not get access to the disability payment because you might fall through the cracks. The process is incredibly hard and also humiliating, especially for invisible disabilities. And this is why in the Cameron and May years, there was a UN rapporteur that described the life for disabled people in this country as a human catastrophe. They were investigating the UK for human rights violations of the disabled. This is part of Sunak wanting to create these clear blue water differences, said David Webster of Glasgow University, an expert on benefit sanctions. And so the return to the workers and shirkers thing is a way of putting the Labour Party on the spot. That's basically what it's about. Well, actually, really and truly, it's because the Labour Party have moved, right? Rachel Reeves is already been on record as saying that she's happy being tough on benefit scroungers, quote unquote, even though a highly lucrative welfare state is how you push up wages for everybody, because it means that people on the bottom rung of the labour market are competing harder with the welfare state, so wages have to go up to compensate to be able to fulfil these positions. People who are on benefits push up wages for everybody else. Like, your taxes aren't paying for these people's benefits. Their benefits are raising your wages, because that's how welfare states work. A cutting back of the welfare state is a supply-side labour market policy that reduces the bargaining power of workers to be able to get higher wages later on. I did a whole video about this. That's what it's for. But Labour have moved so far to the right on economics. The Conservatives have so much gaping room to be as draconian as they like, because they know there's no opposition. And anything that they do now before the next election can't get rolled back by Starmer, because he's too busy wondering about being made to look like the party of benefits by the press. And so he doesn't care. He doesn't care how many children are in poverty. Look at the benefit cap. He doesn't care about how many children go hungry because he's not giving us free school meals. And he won't almost certainly care about people who die because they won't get access to their prescription medication because they've been kicked off of it because of universal credit sanctions. He won't care, because it's whatever's optical for the press is all that matters to Sir Keir. We just have no choice at this next election. We just have miserable cruelty, or somebody who thinks that miserable cruelty is necessary, who's going to be miserably cruel but looks sad whilst doing it. There are concerns that some non-nuclear households could fall through the gap. If a child is being informally cared for by a relative, this is because the eligibility threshold for free school meals is lower than that for the child element of universal credit. Oh, blimey, yeah. So people might lose their free school meals if due to this kind of new sanction that they're trying to put through. Jesus. People housed in temporary accommodation, the so-called hidden homeless, and some people living in supported housing receive old-style housing benefit on top of the universal credit rather than the housing element of universal credit. They could also potentially fall through the cracks in the new sanctions rules if only those in receipt of the housing element are exempted. Hopefully they'll paper over that, but I have no confidence in the Conservative government to try and ensure that more people get included rather than fewer. Dr. Webster told Politics Home that the group of claimants most likely to fall foul of the new rules are young single claimants without children. They already have a very low rate of engagement with the job centre anyway, but partly because the whole system is such a bullying system. We already know that rates of claiming for ill health have shot up in this young age group, and this policy is going to feed that even more because it's going to become the only way that people in this group can get benefits. This is fucking inhuman. These people are evil. It's so disgusting. Like, these people just, I don't even have words to describe it. I don't even have the words at how fucking livid this makes me, how angry this makes me. And there's just no opposition opposition. There's no opposition to this either. I hate this fucking country. Failed state.